Hello everybody, this is Group 8's presentation on 3D printing. What is 3D printing? 3D printing is a new, emerging technology that allows a user to print objects including a third dimension, width. These objects can range from tools to toys and even body parts. It is also referred to as additive manufacturing. We will go into more detail on additive manufacturing in a future slide. We are now going to get into the history of 3D printing. 3D printing first came about in the 1980s, created by Hideo Kodama. It was originally called rapid prototyping. However, the phrase 3D printing wasn't coined until 1993 when students at MIT began experimenting with a powder bed process employing standard and custom inkjet print heads. Moving forward into 1993. In 1993, 3D printing was commercialized by Soligen Technologies, Extrude Hone Corporation, and Z Corporation. It is considered to be part of the Third Industrial Revolution, which is defined as a shift from analog, electronic, and mechanical devices to the expanding market of digital technology. The Third Industrial Revolution started in the 1980s and continues today. For those of you who have seen the 3D printing process in action, you may be asking yourself, how does the process work? The first step in 3D printing is to create a blueprint of the object that you want to create. You can use modeling software, or you can use one of the many websites that post user-created designs. Once you have finished either creating or selecting your blueprint, it is then sent to the printer. From there, the printer sends a plastic material strand into a pipe and begins to melt the plastic. As the creation process starts, the 3D printer deposits the melted plastic onto the plate, where it instantly cools. It layers the plastic from bottom to top until your design is complete. How can 3D printing be applied to business? 3D printing has many different capabilities and applications, but perhaps the greatest potential lies with the field of biomedicine. Exobionics actually created an exoskeleton suit that enables spinal cord patients without the use of their legs to have the ability to walk again. There have been many other situations in which people have created their own blueprints and used their personal 3D printers to save money on things like braces, as well as cast for broken bones. With 3D printed braces, you could save approximately $5,000. While 3D printing a cast doesn't save you a large sum of money, it does, however, have other benefits. The main benefit is that the user-submitted blueprint creates a cast that is completely waterproof without getting the same odor as the traditional casts. The automotive industry is another field that is impacted by 3D printing, reducing labor and material costs. So why 3D printing? Perhaps the best part of 3D printing is the relatively low cost at which goods can be produced or printed. This is true on all variable costs like labor and materials. In many cases, production and labor are the most expensive aspect of owning or running a business. That is why many corporations elect to move their production facilities to countries that have cheaper materials as well as cheaper labor. An example of this would be either China or Mexico. Additive manufacturing is also a sustainable way to produce goods without much impact on the global climate. 3D printing is very versatile, meaning it does not require any molds to actually print an object. 3D printing sounds great. Why wouldn't you use it? Well, here are some possible disadvantages. Startup costs would perhaps be the biggest possible disadvantage of additive manufacturing. Like any good investment, it requires a high price, but is definitely able to pay for itself over the long run. Companies are unable to achieve economies of scale because only one object can be printed at a time. However, this flaw is offset by low cost of production and virtually zero waste generation. If 3D printing is adopted by the masses, it could potentially put many people out of work because their job would be replaced by a printer, slashing a large percentage of labor costs for a business. In conclusion, 3D printing has been around since the 80s, but was not made popular until the 1990s. Virtually anything from homes to cars to bionic exoskeletons can be printed at a relatively low cost to producers. This also benefits consumers because the price of production will lead to lower prices for the consumer. 3D printing operates by producing thin slices of material and layering those slices together to form a single object. 3D printing will drastically reduce waste left over from production. Much of the waste materials can be recycled within the plant by simply melting down the plastic and creating new strands that can then be spooled for reuse. This ultimately leads to lower disposal costs for the companies. Additive manufacturing promises a lot for the future of large-scale corporations, but poses a threat to specialized jobs. 3D printing will make it difficult for companies to achieve economies of scale, but are countered by the low cost of production and cheaper labor. Now it's time to start thinking. What are your ideas? What do you see as a possible future for 3D printing? Could it lead to a new field of work? What are some of the possibilities that have not been explored yet? How could the technology change in order for 3D printing to be more efficient and possibly reach economies of scale? From all of us in Group 8, thank you for watching.